This is a second and third stimulus check update. President Biden saying that he might change the income threshold for the next stimulus checks, which may affect you getting the next stimulus check. I'll play the clip of what he said. Few top Democrats are giving different timelines of when the next stimulus package can pass, either through reconciliation or through bipartisan support. Mitt Romney, Senate Republican, saying that he likes a few parts of this next stimulus package. I'll play the clip of what he said, then I'll answer the questions you leave for me in the comments. I hope you're having a great day so far. Quick reminder, I'm giving out $200 checks to my subscribers, and I'll have details to that down in the description below. So I want to clarify something I spoke about the other day. So Ohio Republican Representative Steve Stivers said $1,400 stimulus checks should only go to those who get the COVID-19 vaccine, basically saying you can't get a stimulus check unless you take the vaccine. Just to be clear, he's the only person who said that. No other person in Congress has agreed or actually proposed this. But let me know your thoughts. Is this a good idea, bad idea? It's probably not going to happen, but I've been getting a lot of questions about that. All right, first up, Jen Psaki, who is the White House press secretary, was asked a few different questions in yesterday's briefing about the next stimulus check. Here's what she said and about the timeline as well.
The reconciliation should be considered now. The time is wasting. There isn't time for this sort of legislative back and forth.
Well, the president himself has conveyed the urgency of moving this package forward, and that's certainly something he has also conveyed privately to Democrats and Republicans. And it's not just him. There's urgency to the American people for this package to move forward, because we are going to hit a cliff, an unemployment insurance cliff, I should say, in March, where millions of people won't be able to have access to unemployment insurance. We're going to hit a point where we won't have enough funding for vaccine distribution. Nobody wants to have the conversation, no member of Congress, in May or June, when we don't have the funding to put back to reopen schools, I should say. So there's an urgency he's conveyed. I will say, as it relates to reconciliation, just to take a step back, everybody watching is not as in the weeds on the Senate process as all of you, so let me just take a moment to explain. Reconciliation is a means of getting a bill passed. There are a number of means of getting bills passed. That does not mean, regardless of how the bill is passed, that Democrats and Republicans cannot both vote for it. So the president obviously wants to make this bipartisan, hence he's engaging with members of both parties, and he remains committed to that moving forward. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Just real quick, you were talking about the cliff in March. Does he think it will get passed by March?
Well, there's an urgency to moving it forward, and he certainly believes it needs to be, there needs to be progress in the next couple of weeks.
So he thinks by March it could get passed?
Well, I don't want to give a deadline on it, Caitlin, but I think we are all mindful and looking at that timeline in March as to when we will hit the unemployment cliff, and it's vital to get things done quickly and rapidly, as quickly as possible.
Jen Psaki sort of alluding to March being the deadline of when the stimulus package would have to be passed because of the unemployment cliff with the unemployment benefits running out. Moving on to the income thresholds changing for the next stimulus check, Republican Senator Susan Collins from Maine said that she raised an issue about the $1,400 stimulus checks to Americans, saying that it should be targeted to lower income families. So this is what she said specifically, is that why would families making $300,000 be eligible to receive a payment? Which is a good question. So if you are on the lower income side, this probably won't affect you. They probably just want to have a cutoff for the higher thresholds. President Biden responded to this, saying that he's willing to adjust the income thresholds for stimulus checks in the next relief package, most likely for the higher income threshold. So if you're on the lower side, this is not going to affect you. It's more like the families who are making $200,000 to $300,000 a year. They'll just probably taper it off at a lower level. So it'll be a lower phase out. Also, President Biden said that the talks could take a couple of weeks to happen in his speech last night. Here's a clip of the speech just talking about the stimulus checks and when it could pass.
Friday, you said the nation is in a national emergency. We should act like it. Given the scale and the severity of the need, how long are you willing to get sufficient Republican support before you would greenlight Democrat attempts to use reconciliation, for instance, to pass that bill?
Well, look, the decision on reconciliation will be one made by the leaders of the House and the Senate. But here's the deal. I have been doing legislative negotiations for a large part of my life. I know how the system works. And what I'm can't guarantee anything at all, but I can say that what I'm going to be doing, and we've already begun, is making it clear to the leadership in the House and the Senate, as well as the group of 16, group of bipartisan group, as well as Republican individuals who have an interest in the issues that are in my package, and saying, here's what I'm doing, here's why I want to do it, here's why I think we need to do it, and what kind of support can or can't you give to that? And then we go on to the way in which we deal with legislation all the time. You know, we didn't have any votes for the recovery package when Barack and I came into office. We were short 3 votes. We didn't know we had the votes until the day of bringing it up. And but here's the deal, you know. It's interesting, and I know you ask a lot of these questions, you know the answers, but you have to help educate the public as well. I'm not suggesting you don't know what I'm about to say. No one wants to give up on their position until there's no other alternative. They have to make a decision that they don't support what is being proposed, or they insist on what they have, or they let it all go away, fall down. I think we're far from that point right now. The decision to use reconciliation will depend upon how these negotiations go. And let me make clear about negotiations. I've always believed part of negotiation on the part of a president and or a chairman of a committee trying to get a major piece of legislation passed is about consultation. It's not enough for me just to come up to you and say, I like this, I expect you to support it. I want to explain to you why I think it's so important in this package that we have to provide for money for additional vaccines. Why I think it's so important, why we provide for money to extend unemployment benefits. Why I think it's so important that we provide money to provide for the ability of people not to be thrown out of their apartments during this pandemic because they can't afford their rent. And to make the case to you why I think and what I think the priorities within this piece, we think the priorities are, I apologize, were within this legislation. And I don't expect we'll know whether we have an agreement and to what extent the entire package will be able to pass or not pass until we get right down to the very end of this process, which will be probably in a couple weeks. But the point is, this is just a process beginning.
President Biden saying it could be a couple of weeks. Nancy Pelosi said a couple of weeks. Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader, I'll give his timeline and his quote later on in the video. But first, Mitt Romney, Senate Republican, saying that the Biden coronavirus stimulus is pretty shocking, but he actually agreed with a few parts of the stimulus package rather than just completely throwing the whole thing out the window. Here's a clip of Mitt Romney on Fox News talking about the things that he actually likes with President Biden's stimulus package.
Let me ask you about another pressing issue, maybe the most single pressing issue, and that's COVID. You have said that after the Congress passed a $900 billion COVID relief package just last month, that you don't have much interest in passing another Biden rescue plan for $1.9 trillion, more than double what you just passed. Are there some parts of the Biden rescue plan that you could support?
Well, I think that's very possible. Last time around, a bipartisan coalition came together to look at the needs of the American people and came up with the $900 billion plus plan. We'll listen to representatives of the White House today to understand their perspective. But if there are places that we missed in our proposal, we're happy to pick that up. The president wants to extend unemployment benefits. If people are still unemployed, that certainly is something we'd look at. We were of the view last time that states needed help, some rescue for states and localities that may have suffered a reduction in their revenues. That's appropriate. But the total figure is pretty shocking, if you will. And the idea that we need a stimulus is a little hard to understand, because I'm one of those that's convinced that if you want to see this economy get going, we got to get beyond COVID. If we get beyond COVID, I believe that the economy is going to come roaring back, and spending and borrowing trillions of dollars from the Chinese, among others, is not necessarily the best thing we can do to get our economy to be strong long term.
Mitt Romney is one of the more moderate Republicans in the Senate, but let me know down in the comments below, do you think Mitt Romney will be on board with the bigger stimulus package if some changes are made? I'm curious what you think about that down in the comments below. Moving on, interesting. Speaking of Schumer, he said, he gave some more insight of timeline, saying that it could pass in 4 to 6 weeks. So yesterday, he said, we're getting a lot of different mixed timelines here, but he said that we'll try to get that passed in the next month, month and a half. Will it be easy in the Senate? No, but it'll be a lot easier because I could determine what gets put on the floor, not Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. So it seems that we're getting either 2 weeks or in March. Those are like the two different timelines that we're getting in regards to stimulus package. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated. Moving on to the questions that you leave for me in the comments. Frenchie Graham asks, will I get my $1,400 stimulus checks if I got my other checks? Your children are beautiful. Well, thank you for that. I'll give the credit all to my wife for the beautiful children. But to answer your question about the $1,400 stimulus check, yes, eligibility is pretty much the same. Income thresholds may drop down a bit. David Gaines asks, if I don't file taxes, how am I gonna get $600 for my son who is 20 months old? Great question. So if you have any dependents and you do not file taxes, what you're gonna have to do is wait until February 12th to claim a rebate recovery credit through the IRS. You just file a tax return really quick, simple, it's free. Even though you don't file taxes, you're just gonna file a tax return just to claim any money that you did not receive. So that would be it, but you have to wait until February 12th. Next question, Minion Rhodes asks, also, if you want any questions, just type the word question, and this way I could search for it for the next video. Minion Rhodes asks, do you think it's better to wait till mid-February to file your taxes because of the changes currently being made? Good question. So we're gonna have to wait until February 12th regardless. So you'll have to wait till mid-February anyway. There's nothing really you could do now. The IRS isn't accepting any taxes. Next question, Wendy Kleinsmith asks, are they going to push for vax to get the next stimulus package? So as I addressed earlier on in the video, that is probably not going to happen. That was just one congressman. There's no proposals, no bills. There's no mention of that in Biden's American Rescue Plan, the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. So probably not going to happen, if that's a concern for you. That is all the stimulus news I have for you today. To cheer you up a bit, here is my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I'm going to tell them one thing they should do. Treat people equally. Because that you have to be nice to people. If you be nice to people, they will be nice to you. It will work. Try. I done it to some of my friends. Some of the kids been my friends when I did that. And also it's good for helping people. And that's all the information that I want to talk to you for today. Bye.
And I know money may be tight these days, but if you were ever thinking about investing and having your money grow, individual stocks are not the best idea, especially if you're starting out with investing in the stock market. The best thing to do is to invest in index funds. They're the big group of stocks. So for example, you could click this video over here. It's on my Why Sense channel. It goes over the top 3 index funds, one of them giving a 16% return just this year. And it has very low risk. It's a very low risk investment, not much of a high yield, but it's very safe, and your money grows a lot more in an index fund compared to a bank account. So click this video if you want to learn more about that, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.